Hello, welcome to McBoss Capital channel. My name is Michael Chu, and I'm with Sunil. We're just gonna have a weekly market recap and just talk chit chat about stock market in general. So here's my notes for this week. I'm just gonna go through the notes today. I have quite a few things I want to talk about. So since the new year, you know, it's always a good time to reflect on your trading style and what you learned from last year. Try to go back to where maybe your equity curve suffers or have a huge drawback and stuff like that, drawdown, and try to learn from it. Like what can you do better to minimize the drawdown? And same thing when you are, for example, in November, December last year, if you were in the market, you probably have a good gain. Now, how did you maximize your profit, and how did you take any profit? What were your sell rules, and just trying to understand that. So one of the first thing I want to talk about is positioning. Um, you know, I follow Jim Ropel, and he's one of the very successful growth trader, and he has a he has a hedge fund, roughly about $300 million. He's like I say, he's a very successful guy. He's always on IBD, and he talks about how like his style is that he tried to hold for longer term when possible. That's really his style. Like he's not as much of a swing trader, like trying to have small gains. So he talks about how when he positioning into a stock, there's different buy points, right? And you don't buy all at once kind of thing. You may buy one third at a lower buy point, another one third of the position, full position, and another buy point, and you kind of find all the resistance level on the chart, and that's how you could manage your risk a little bit, and also lower down your average cost, rather than always buy at the highest breakout point, because that will always obviously that will be the highest average price, right? But again, there's obviously caveats to buying at a lower buy point. There's more risk and so forth. So you really have to be a good chart reader to identify where those buy points are. But it's just it's a good thing to master. Like that's one of the things you can try to improve on. Is where can you find a better buy point or a lower buy point that still have not as much risk as it should. Definitely buying at the bottom while the stock is continuing in the downtrend, those are always risky. He tend to look at previous resistance levels, like areas where there's lots of days that hit those points, and it just couldn't go above it. So if you see like 5-7 days of days that are near that point, and it just couldn't go below it, above it, and then come back down, or it went above it and come back down like very quickly. Like those are good levels he likes to look at. Yeah. Another thing I noticed about at least this year so far, the market continues to open strong but close weak almost every day. Um, yeah, that's a definite symptom of market weakness, and I, I I'm trying to be bullish and I'm trying to lean bullish, but the market is not helping me, and that's always a bad sign. So this one is definitely a deterrent for me so far this year, and I'm gonna just go to like say Nasdaq 15-minute chart, and I won't even go back to the whole week, but I mean like the since the beginning. I mean, okay, so we know like I can draw the trend line. You can see this is very bad, that's for sure. But even here, like okay, Monday on the 8th, it was a good day, um, right? And then so here it opens. So Tuesday was still okay. So it opens down, right? You can see it opens down, but then within an hour, let's say you buy around this level, right? So then it kind of came back down, right? You see it kind of came back down. So on Wednesday, again, usually if you give it half an hour to an hour, let's say this is roughly where your level is, and you draw a cross, again, where did it go? like it was near the bottom. It came back down again, right? Now it obviously didn't close at the bottom, but it did come, pretty much to the near the low. And then so if now you look at Thursday, okay, that's even worse because if you give it an hour, let's say this was the level, and then same thing, you can see where it closed. Like it's always like it just doesn't have power to move up high where it opens. And then Friday, you give it an hour or so, it's roughly around here. So like this trend is not good, right? Because you not only the first week you have this downtrend, like it's just constantly down, like you can't make money on that if you are going long on it. And then this week, even though the index is higher, because obviously basically this is where it closed and this is where it opened this week, so it looks like it went up a lot, but on a day-to-day basis it didn't make much headway. So if you like for swing traders or for short-term traders, this is tough market right now. You know, so yeah. But yeah, overall, like since the beginning of the year, it hasn't really give up much, which is good sign for the market, right? So yeah. So yeah, in general, like I said, the market hasn't been very friendly in terms of you know getting in and out. Like it's just very hard right now. Again, we're a symptom of market weakness, and there's more sign of market weakness. So we'll talk about that later. For example, the advanced decline line is not doing well right now. So which means the market breadth is very very weak, right? So let me jump to it actually, since we're talking about it. So if we go to IBD newspaper, and we look at S&P 500 here. So S&P 500 like it's almost near the highs here, recent high, right? And but you see the advanced decline line right here. It didn't make a new high, not even close. And look at where it closed this week, like almost at the bottom of the range since the new year. This is pretty bad. Now S&P, you think this look bad. Okay, let's go to Nasdaq. Right? Nasdaq make a new low on Friday, hit like the advanced decline line, right? So the number of stocks going up versus number of stocks going down has been much lower, right? So there's more stocks going down than stocks going up. So this is, again, market breadth is getting weaker and weaker, and this is always a bad sign for the market, to come. So the market is just standing on, just less and less stocks. So, and we'll talk about the big cap tech and stuff, because that's really where the strength is right now. Not all of them, but at least some of it is holding up pretty good, and that's why the index looks stronger than the underlying market, all the other stocks. And so this is, again, very negative sign, because once it slide, it tends to slide much longer than people think, right? And same thing, when it goes up, it tends to goes up much longer than people think. But now we kind of, like the Nasdaq trend is definitely, you can see it has started a new downtrend right here. Whereas the S&P is kind of still, even though it's at the bottom of the range, it still doesn't look as bad. But who knows? This could change very quickly, when the earnings come, right? So we gotta be, cautious in that sense. So that is definitely another negative. So the next person I'm going to talk about is Caruso. He was on IBD talking about his trading style and strategy. He's I don't know him too well, but I do follow him, but I don't see many tweets from him. So anyhow, I'm not sure if he was. Yeah, I don't know if he's one of the competitors on the competition before for competition, but anyhow. So some of the things he talked about I feel kind of interesting. He was asked about how he sells into strength. He's not the kind. He's almost like Jim Ropel. He try not to sell unless who put his stop loss and so forth, which is like always the number one rule. But in terms of like selling into strength, that's always a tough thing to do. Because he said, like, if you're in a true bull market, most stocks will go up significantly and then correct also significantly. So trying to sell into strength is hard, right? Because then you have to buy it back once the pullback's over. And so he tend to hedge by buying puts and stuff. Um, and he tried to also like not look at just that one stock. He also tried to look at the general market. Is the whole market like coming down, or is this just a few stocks that are coming down, like stuff like that, right? So so he almost like very similar to the way Jim Ropel holds his stock, which is like again same strategy, holding for longer term. So he talked about crypto as an example, like they've gone up a lot. Now they're going under significant correction now. Like should you hold it, and stuff like that, right? So yeah, when it's too extended, you want to have some sort of hedge. Jim Roper also talked about like for him, you can also trim, right? That's another way to handle it if you just don't want to, hold that as much, and then, you can trim some and then buy it back at a lower price, right? If you think if you think it's too extended. So one of the things Matt talked about, like why like I said, his style is probably similar to Jim Ropel, trying to hold for longer. And one of the reasons why he said that is his style is because he knows leaders tend to break out first in a bull market, and so most of the leaders have already come out, right? Have already gone up in this bull market, and they will be the ones to top out last. So that's why he said, he's not trying to swing trade or go for 20-30% gain. He really wants to go for the big gains. But obviously it's not easy, and again, managing risk is always going to be number one priority. Yeah, so he also talked about like, you definitely don't, again, like selling into strength is so important. Like Mark Mooney always says, like, like he's very big into selling into strength. Um, and also Mark Ritchie, he was also on IB this week. He's one of Mark Mooney's disciples and students, and he also talked about it. And it's always important to sell into strength because that's your chance. So for Mark Mooney, for those who read his book, he talked about how you can take the profit and finance your trade. That's really how you do it, right? Like let's say you were up 20%. Now you can sell half your position, and now you finance the other half because now you have that 20% gain on to play with. Whereas you know if you try to double down, that's a totally different strategy, right? So it's completely different. So yeah, so like if you're anticipating a pullback, take some profit, free up the cash, because once they pull back, they go to their 21 day or their 10-week moving average. You really want to take advantage of that pullback, because if you believe in those leaders, those are the ones that you want to buy on pullback, and those are good areas to buy on. Usually that's when people sell, because they're like, oh, it's coming down so far now to the 10-day, like now suddenly down like I don't know 15% or even more, like, and you're like, now I gotta sell because it might come down more, right? You get fearful because you lost 15-20% of your money. Versus you sell on strength, and then you take that cash and you can buy it back when it's 15-20% on discount. So very big difference, and I talked about that last week. Like going into earnings, I always like to have some cash to look at, because there's always some stocks that are going to do well, and I like to get into those stocks that have shown that they can withstand whatever the current macro economy looks like, and they can still do well, right? So that's I really like doing that, because usually once the earnings is out, those companies tend to, assuming the market is stable, they usually will tend to still shine, right? And even if the market is like kind of not performing, like let's say it's performing flat, but those stocks will probably still outperform. Yeah, so like I said, I already talked about the New Year goal. It's time to reflect if you haven't. Um, yeah, so I want to show you the Nasdaq monthly chart. So we look at the intraday chart, but this is very interesting. I'm going to take out my markers for a second. But this trend is we have this bull market that started, really in, I mean, you don't know for sure like in '08, but now on hindsight, oh, that is a bull market, right? So we have this secular bull market that started since '08, and it has come down to this, like, I believe this is like the 200-day line, and now you can see it hit it in 2011, 2015, late 2015, 2018, right? And then we have the 2020 pandemic, and then we have this really severe bear market, right? Like you know, again, most people don't even think about it that way, but it is. And it lasted a long time too, right? Like this is much longer. Like when you look at it from a monthly chart, you can see how long it is. It's much longer. Um, you know, so so really the last time you have this kind of severe bear market is back in the '08 really. And so now, at that time, they formed what is called a cup with handle right here. And here we are seeing the similar thing on the monthly chart, a cup with handle, right? And now we are, on this slope going up. So, like again, these are all good signs for the Nasdaq. I think probably very similar to S&P. Um, and yeah, you see, very similar. So yeah, so this is something very interesting to look at, because when you have this nice cup with handle pattern on the monthly chart, it tends to um, propel much higher in the longer term, right? So, but we'll see what's going to happen. No one knows. This is also why Jim Ropel is so bullish, because we undergone such a long-term bear market that once it comes out here, like it's going to be strong. So on the weekly chart for S&P, you can see we're getting closer and closer to this all-time high. Yeah, so we have the New Year week digestion, and then this week we come back. So that's also another indicator of strength. And then we go to Nasdaq. Very similar. It pulls back to the 10-week moving average, and then we bounce back and close at the top. So those are all good signs. But this one is still a little bit further away. 16,000. We at almost 15,000. So we're still trying to pass this level. Go to Dow. Dow is the strongest one. It already hit new high. And right now, look at this, right? It's no different than looking at the daily chart. You can see it on the weekly chart here. It's holding above this previous high, right? For now, what, four weeks now. That's very incredible strength. Basically, it's letting this 10-week moving average catching up to it, right? So it doesn't even want to come down to the so this is the line. This 10-week is moving up really strong right now. It's catching up to this 10-day, and yeah, so it's really good signs. And 200-day also is starting to really curve up. So this is very strong. Like Dow, again, we talked about this before. What does this mean, right? Like you gotta think Dow represent 30 biggest global companies in the world. And they're all pronounced in terms of what they do in the world. Why are they doing so well? So, does that mean the macro economy in the world is going to be strong? Perhaps, right? Again, only time will tell, but this is a very good sign. Yeah, so, another thing that Matt Caruso also point out, it's always good thing to smooth out your equity curve. I mean, doesn't matter what style investor you are. If you have boom and bust, you're not gonna make it, right? Because you're gonna lose that compounding effect. And Mark we talk about it a lot in his book, right? Like you want to be able to compound your growth all this time, and if you gain 50%, and then the second year you gain 50%, and then the third year you lose 50%, you actually end up like nothing. You didn't have any gain almost. So that's just how it works. It just works against you when you have a drawdown that big. And so so that's why you need to learn how to smooth out your equity curve. Really what it comes down to is kind of what we talked about earlier, is you need to find ways to minimize your drawdown. And then when you have profit, you want to try to find ways to maximize that. Are you selling too early, right? So those are really, you know, and a lot of it can be related to the market. If the market is coming down, really most of the time most stocks will follow the market. So if you hold in growth stocks, those will hurt even more. So that's why positioning. That's why I talk about positioning. It's very important. To me, that is actually the best way to manage to smooth out your equity curve. So we talked about that last week, which is like, I think 2 weeks ago, sorry. Yeah, so like when the market is pulling back, you tend to be, want to have less positioning. And then when it's, obviously coming back up, you want to have, increase your position size. Again, timing wise is never easy to do, but again, it depends on how big the pullback is, right? If it's just a minimal 3% or something on the index, it's not gonna, by the time you sell, it was already back up to 3%, right? So it's hard to decipher that, but again, you have to also look at the stocks that you're holding, how volatile they are, how fast can they move, all that stuff. Yeah, we'll talk about some of these stocks later that I heard from Market Smith. So I'm gonna move them down because I just want to continue talking about more the high level stuff. Yeah, so now we're gonna turn to the news this week. Yeah, so Nvidia is really strong. We can jump to the chart right now as we talk about it. So it definitely broke out. This is a breakout week for it, and you can see the move right here. It was up 11%. In fact, I think it's definitely not only the best big cap tech stock, but it also outperformed many funds. I can't remember who was talking about it, but it's up 11% this week. If you don't have this in your portfolio, you're not gonna outperform like the index most likely, because this is such a big mover this week. And yeah, I mean, we all know this is a strong fundamental stock. Relative strength now hitting new highs. I mean, this is, AI theme, obviously. Yeah, so this breakout is strong. It broke out very clean, closed at the top, went up, basically 3 days. And then look at Friday. Look at how, like, the range of that movement is so little versus the previous 4 days of accumulation, right? This is picture perfect breakout. Like, honestly, this is picture perfect breakout. So something to continue to pay attention to. Meta also did well. So let's jump to it. So very similar. This one already broke out, right? It has almost like a ascending base. So this is the flat base. Then it has this ascending base, higher highs, higher lows, and then it finally like moved much more this week, right? So yeah, so this is also moving really nicely. So right here, and this is almost at new highs. Look at that. I think.
Yeah.
Amazing, right? So yeah, here you go.
So all Mag 7 are pretty much doing really good, except Tesla. So that's a good for QQQ.
Yeah, so this is very interesting. Like this is why the index, as we saw earlier, is doing so well still, whereas the advanced decline line is going down because of the weighting, right? This stocks has so much weighting in the index that it's holding up the index, but below that, like most stocks are not doing as well as these guys are, and so this, so really now analysts are starting to shift towards the term Magnificent Five rather than the Magnificent Seven, dropping Apple and Tesla. So that's something we'll talk about as well. We'll look at those two charts, but Meta is one of the good ones, and Nvidia. We can jump to Microsoft since since we're on that theme, because these are all AI themes. And you can see it's hitting new high this week. So right here, so here's the base. Here's another flat base, and it broke out, closed at the top. And look at the daily chart on Microsoft. Very similar to Nvidia, right? Like, on Thursday it kind of gave back, right? It broke out and closed near the bottom, but then on Friday it followed through. So that's a good sign. So meaning all the sellers are done, right? At that buy point here. So this is a really good sign. Yeah, like again, AI theme is doing really strong. Yeah, so another stock, Google, IBD highlight them, right? Obviously, the big announcement, big job cuts, that will boost bottom line for sure. And here's the base. It came out and then it fell, but then now it's back above. Again, it tried to break out to new high again on Thursday. It couldn't. Right now it's around there, sitting there at that level. But overall, when you look at a weekly chart, it's very healthy, right? It did close at a new high on the weekly chart. So it's just, again, very similar to the other ones we just saw. It's making healthy move, yeah. The other Mac 5, the last one, is Amazon. You can see on the weekly chart again, similar, close at the top, right? Yeah, very nicely, right? It pulled back to the 50-day here after it broke out from right here. Now it bounced back again, sitting near the highs. This is really healthy. Again, the Mac 5 is really doing all the work right now for the index. Now we're gonna look at the other two that has been dropped by a lot of analysts this year. Apple is on a downtrend, so you can draw the highs right there. So it's it found support at 200-day. It's probably gonna retest this 200-day one more time, I think, unless it can break through very cleanly on this trend line. But yeah, it's most likely gonna test it one more time, and whether it will pass or fail. And then Tesla. I know Tesla is doing really bad right now. It's like on a losing streak, like I don't know, 10 of 11 days or something. And we talk about this trend line up here, right? From week to week, and we say how it came above it, but it really didn't move much. And the longer you sit there without moving much, that's always a bad sign, right? Because this is a channel line, that the long-term channel line, and everyone sees this channel line. If it can't move fast beyond that channel line, then that means there's not much confidence. And now we can see how it accelerate going downward, right? So yeah, this downtrend line is still existing right here. This is the bottom channel line. So if it does fall, it could fall as far as this right here. So that's definitely not a good sign. And then you have a longer term support on the left side here, all the way down to like close to 150, 160. So yeah, so this is not looking good. And obviously both Apple and Tesla have lots of negative news lately. I think Tesla dropped their prices again, right? So what's interesting this week was Monday we had that rebound on the index, and because the IBD saw there was market breadth that day, and megacaps were doing well, and leaders were also doing well that day. A lot of them found support and key moving average. They signal the pullback is over, and they changed the market trend back to confirm uptrend. And also like IBD 50 index rose 2.7%, again showing healthy signs for growth stocks. So that was the reason why they moved that signal back to confirm uptrend. On Wednesday, we have Intuitive Surgical, HWM moving. We'll look at those charts later. We already talked about Meta. Let's look at this. Some of these indicators here. So This is the Nasdaq indicators, and we're gonna look at. So at the bottom here, you have 10-day moving average. Oh, now it's gone. Oh, maybe only when I move down my cursor down here. Okay. Anyhow, so anyhow, 10-day moving average new highs versus new lows. And what's happening? Look at the blue line. The blue is the new highs. So the 10-day moving average, look at where it's heading, right? The 10-day moving average is going down, right? None of them hitting new highs. And the lows, the good thing is the lows is not like, not hitting new lows. So, but, that just again show the market breadth is not as strong, right, as the index, right? This one oversold, overbought, oversold oscillator. You can see it's now starting to look a little bit oversold now. You can see that we're at the bottom, right? So that's also very interesting because index is near the top, but the selling part is a little bit oversold now. So this is good because we were overbought at the beginning of the year, and now we're almost at the bottom. So this is actually good for the counter trend. Here we're looking at New York Stock Exchange. We have very similar behavior here. Again, the new highs on the 10-day moving average going down, so meaning not many stocks are going towards new highs. Again, a signal of the market breadth weakening. And so this one, it didn't come down as far, but it is coming down. So again, this is a good sign. We're at oversold territory right now. So maybe there's a chance market could bounce as well. But again, it's very interesting how, the index itself is not that much down, right? But whereas this oscillator shows there's a lot of selling already. So on Thursday, we have the huge report, CPI report. It definitely was harder than expected. It showed consumer price rising 0.3%, with an annual increase of 3.4%, which is bigger than the 0.2% monthly and 3.2% annually. And the core rose 0.3% and 3.9%. Again, also harder. But that morning, I thought, oh, maybe the market gonna tank, but it didn't. I was really surprised. If we go look at the daily chart, let's go look at Nasdaq, for example, and we will look at 15-minute chart just to see. It did drop, okay, like Thursday, right? This is Thursday morning. It did drop. It opened like it opened strong, and then it didn't fall like pre-market as much, which like that's the price. That's the part I was surprised. But then it did drop hard after it opened. But I mean, again, overall for this day, it actually looked more positive than negative because it actually recovered. So that was the good thing. So from that perspective, if you look at Thursday and Friday, and forget about what happened previously, it's actually the market has been withholding much stronger, considering this CPI report is not as good as people want, right? Because it's shows inflation higher again. So another big news on Thursday was obviously I think 11 Bitcoin spot ETFs came out, and they were heavily traded. So for those who want to invest in Bitcoin through an exchange ETF, that will be that's available now. We'll talk. I think we'll look at some stocks, but crypto stocks have also taken a big hit since that moment. So again, it's one of those sell on the news reaction right now. So on Friday, PPI fell 0.1% with only 1% annual increase. So that's a good data. And yeah, and then same thing with the core were flat and 1.8% annualized. So those are really good numbers. We have earnings from banks. Most of them I think was pretty flat. No big reactions or anything. So I think overall the banks are still quite healthy. I didn't really follow them, but I assume without much price movement, that's not a bad thing. Next week we're going to see a lot more banks reporting. Goldman Sachs, Ali, Morgan Stanley. There's probably other stocks too that are going to start reporting. Um, we have retail sales on Wednesday, so that might also indicate how consumers are doing. So that might be something that could move the market as well. Because as the year goes by, everyone's wondering, hey, is the Fed going to cut, right? And that's what everyone's looking at, and we want to see how healthy the consumer is. Because if the consumer is not healthy, then the Fed will definitely cut because they don't want a big recession, right? So
Mhm.
anyhow, industrial production is also come out that day. Housing data will come out. Mortgage rate, um, it has dropped significantly from 8% to now 6.7%. So this is again how we'll look at housing stocks. They're doing really well right now. So a lot of them are at buy points. Um, so there's the housing index come out as well. Building permits on Thursday. Yeah, so not much big news this week. Again, earnings season is starting to ramp up. Really, that's where you need to focus now is looking at earnings season, um, and pay attention to when your stocks are going to announce their earnings. So we already talked about Mag 5. We already talked about the Mag 7. Um, okay. So I'm going to jump to, before I talk about specific stocks, I'm going to jump to market trend for a second. Okay.
Mhm.
So yeah, so we had 3 days under pressure at the beginning of the year, and then we have shift back to confirm uptrend by IBD on Monday, and since then it hasn't really done so well from a accumulation distribution standpoint. So when I look at stocks, you can see the number of stocks I track um, has more distribution than accumulation. Like it got worse by Thursday, and then same thing with Friday. So it hasn't really. Again, this also underlies the bottom. Not the Mac 5 or Mac 7, but like there's a lot of stocks that are not doing as well, right? Now it's not a completely um, bad market. Like you still have lots of stocks being accumulated, but it's just net wise, it's there's more distribution. And when looking at the industry groups, you can see there's also more groups that are being distributed than accumulated. On the sector side, this is the net number. So when you take the net accumulation minus the distribution, this is what we see. And in terms of the net accumulation distribution, we're seeing again Monday we start out pretty good. We have 5 sectors that have um, net positive accumulation, but then by the end of the week, look at that, right? We have almost net distribution on almost all sectors. So in that sense, right, if you're holding stocks and you are like me, holding more stocks, um, and because the general market is under more distribution, um, so most stocks will be under distribution, and that's why I didn't have as good of a week as the index show. So this is very negative for me. So something to pay attention to. And as you see, the health was really the one since the beginning of the year that have shown positive accumulations, net accumulation since the beginning of the year, like consistently. But even that has kind of started to, drop off a little bit. And we'll look at some health stocks that we follow. Yeah. Yeah, so this is a good chart to look at because again, this is the inflation rate. It went up 0.3% this month. It's a good overall ski like diagram to look at because it kind of showcased the last 12 months, and you can see we were doing so well and then it just jumped back, right? So this is something definitely worry, but for some reason the market didn't take that as a bad sign. So
Mhm.
so let's go look at what the futures show in terms of the interest rate cuts here. And so right now, January, obviously it will going to remain at 5.25%. And then we go to March. This has actually jumped up since that CPI report came out. I think it was below 70 before. Now it's 76% that they will cut rate to 5. Again, this is very interesting, right? Like again, even though we have a harder CPI number, um, but the market for some reason, didn't even think that it was that hard, right? So now it actually increased percent in terms of percent of possibility of cutting the rates, and then in May we're gonna cut again to 4.75. In June it cuts to 4.5. In July. So last week we saw it actually wasn't going to cut again, but now it does. So we went from 5.25 to 4.25, right? 1% cut in 4 months, 4 meetings in a row. So this was changed as well. And then September, again, cut 4% now. November, 3.75. So now that's 6 rate cuts. And December, 3.5. So we're going to go from 5.25 to 3.5, which is 7 cuts of a quarter each time. So that's the forecast by the futures right now, which is very interesting, right? I'm going to jump to just the yield because that also shows some more interesting sign here. So we go to the yield here, 10-year yield, and look at how, on Thursday, it found, again, we talked about this a week ago, like, is it going to find resistance here? Yes, look at that. How many days it found resistance at this 200-day line? And then look at it, it fall back, right? Now, whether this will go a lot lower, I'm not sure, but it has found resistance. It couldn't surpass this level, which is also very interesting, which is, again, looks like the market really thinks that, the 10-year yield is done. Like, basically, this is now, on a long-term downtrend. It kind of break this resistance line. And so, yeah, so I think with this downtrend, if it continues, this will be a good sign for the market because honestly, the market has been very correlated, right, with this 10-year yield. So something to continue to watch. Um, we're gonna look at GDP now. What's the latest number? So Atlanta Fed 2.2% for last quarter. It's still pretty strong. Um, still lots of growth, so that's a good sign. And let's look at the greed index. Okay, so now it went from, last time we talked about extreme greed, now it's come down to as low as 61, which was greed, and now it's back to 71 greed level. So we're still pretty greedy in terms of where the momentum is, sentiment. On the AAII investor survey here, we have 48%, so almost the same as last week, not much change. So still leaning quite bullish. So yeah, almost similar to the greed level. So yeah, so this, again, the reason why we look at sentiment sometimes it could signal a counter trend as well. But yeah. So but it hasn't moved much. So looking at the Nasdaq stochastics oscillator, you can see, you know, previously we have bottom around here. This time it has bounced back earlier than the previous times. So so I don't really know what this means, but it did come down really fast. So but it also now rising pretty fast too. So I'm not sure what that means. We'll see. But yeah, and then S&P, yeah, this one didn't drop as much as, like, it didn't even go below 20, and it's only coming back. So there's lots of mixed signals in terms of, like, is it overbought, is it oversold? Sentiment is still generally bullish. So yeah, so I think, market will probably be choppy because I think it's very undecided where it wants to go. We'll look at the sector by sector just because it's just a little bit easier to follow. So this week, you can see, the ones at the top here are having relative strength, hitting new high by the end of the week. And then we have more flat relative strength, and then we have like new lows, right? So I noticed, a lot of cybersecurity stock did well this week. I mean, a lot of tech stock did well. Let's put it that way. So that
Mhm.
hence, the rebound, right? Again, well, when I say that, I mean like a lot of, the good stocks, right? Good growth stocks. But the underlying, we know Nasdaq underlying like advanced decline line is decreasing, and that's yeah. So overall is not good, but the ones that are showing leadership, so like Zscaler, you can see hitting new high right here, really strong. This guy already broke out a while ago, and many stocks pull back in the new year, but look at them, right? Bounce and make new high, right? So this is a common theme right now among tech stocks. So I think tech will like at least the growth tech leaders will continue to take some leadership or most leadership, I think, because this is a very V-shaped bounce, right? And it's a classic. I'll go to a weekly chart. You see, and I'll take out my markups for now, and you can see like it always pull back to the 10-week line. It always does that, and then finally it took off, and this is the first pullback since pretty much when it broke out. So yeah, so generally, if we do have a longer bull cycle here, and it looks like it's happening, generally, most leaders they will pull back to 10-week like probably one at least one time, two, usually two times, and then by the third time it will be too obvious. So it could go up,
Mhm.
pull back, go up, pull back, and then this might be the last. Some stocks will continue, and some stocks will start to fall apart from here. So, something to pay attention to. Um, yeah. So usually, IBD recommend the first two pullback is a good opportunity to add more stock if you like it and you want to add to it. So would be technically like if you don't count this one, right? Because it's not that far from the breakout. So, but if you count this one, yeah, this would be the first pullback. So yeah, this is a very nice clean pullback and hit the near the 21-day line and then bounce back and now it's redeem its rally, right? And usually the other thing you would notice is the slope will change. Sometimes in this case you can see like this slope is like much stronger. Sometimes that can be worrisome because it's too strong of a slope. 45 degrees is generally the best slope. That means it's not overheated and stuff like that. But this one right now is a little bit too strong, so I wouldn't be surprised it just bounce back to the 10-day. So the 10-day, again, the 10-day should be at 45-degree angle, but right now it's not. So a little bit extended. Yeah, so that's that as Palo Alto. What's it? Palo Alto. Again, I think the cybersecurity has a really good week. Look at this one. Has a really
Mhm.
sharp pullback, right? Like many days too. And look at it now. It only, we talk about this many times from a technical perspective. It took like what 12 days to hit this low, but from a uptrend perspective, it only took like 4 days to come back. So that just shows how much strength there is, and you can see it really clearly at the bottom. Look at the volume on the selling side, and look at the volume on the buying side, right? So that shows tremendous accumulation happening and not much distribution from investors, right? So yeah, so this is the again very similar chart like breakout right here, ran up, like it did go up to the 20% because that's what the green bar means. Go up 20%.
Mhm.
Could take some profit there. Again, a good sell rule. IBD sell rule would be always take some profit at 20-25%. And then as it pulls back, now it rebound. You could have added here, um, and then you could have added more as it hit new high as well. So yeah, all these security stocks have the same pattern, right? This one is stronger. You can see it went up much higher than the green bar, which is over 25%. And then it pulled back. Look at how many days it pulled back, like 3, 4 days, right? 5 days. And
Mhm.
yeah, it just doesn't even want to go below the 21-day line that much, right? And then look, it resumed. Now, volume came in to support it as it hit that average line again once more, and then it took off. So now it's hitting new high again, right? So, um, Yeah.
Mm,
So
not too
yeah,
bad.
okay. Yeah, so like Shopify hit new high after this first pullback. Very similar pattern. So these are all good signs, right? These are the stocks that are, you can see the relative strength are hitting new highs. And these are all the stocks that are leading the market right now. So you want to pay attention to some of these stocks. So let's look at the next one. Salesforce. Look at Salesforce, right? It's funny, right? Because like all these stocks have very similar pattern. This one didn't go up as much. It didn't even hit the 20% from the breakout, but but it did have the same pattern as in pullback, and now it's hitting new high, right? So very similar pattern. Relative strength is starting to go up, but not as strong as Shopify, but yeah. Service now, definitely one of the strongest stocks last time. Also didn't quite hit the 20% mark on the breakout, but now it did this pullback. It's quite a long pullback. It's like almost 3 weeks long. And now, again, in 5 sessions, 4 sessions, 5 sessions, yeah, it recovered. And now it's like sitting at the new high. So these are all strong. Again, relative strength really getting stronger. Looks good. So SAP, not as strong as the other guys. It came out this base, didn't go up too much, and then now it formed another base and it's trying to come out, right? So, but this stock trade really tightly. That's something I really like seeing.
Mhm.
So yeah, so maybe could come out again this time. Um, Dropbox. So Dropbox, you can see it also, broke out here, didn't move that much, came back down, and now it finally take off again, right? So a lot of stocks are doing this right now. All this enterprise software, uh, ramp. This one did a base, another base here, pullback. So this one is lagging a little bit, but overall it still looks okay. So ANET, obviously this is very similar to Nvidia. It might be a breakout right here. It didn't move that much right here, but then it accelerated here and it got the 20% move. Pulls back very tightly, and this one day broke, kind of just one day it broke to new high. And look
Mhm.
at it. It's been going up in this slope right now, so looking really strong. Yeah, very strong. I'm gonna jump to SMCI, where all these are kind of AI theme related. Broke out right here, really strong volume, and now you can see the 10-day slope look like this, and it's holding really tight right now. It's giving back very little. It's not like the last few days. It hasn't been as strong, which is not. I mean, it's not a bad thing because it's trying to build probably another handle here, most likely. And then, but I think once it come out the next time, it might be a big move. Because usually when it moves out big. Look at this one, right? So if it does come out of this handle here, which is like pretty much at the high, that you want to see a big move because that's when institutions coming in. Um, Volume was pretty good this week, but like I say, this is a early entry point. Um, but the next test will be really at the high. So, so yeah, I forgot like one important security stock. This is honestly the super stock I call it. On the weekly chart you can see it break out this base and look at how far it has run already, right? So this is one of the early breakout last year, and look at it. This is this first 10-week moving average pullback. This is the first one, and then here's the second one. So and now it's really accelerating, and look at those volume too, like on the moves. This is like a lot of accumulation. Now, of course, this is starting to look quite extended now on the weekly chart. Let's go to daily. Well, let me go back to weekly because I think this is a new high. Let me just go to monthly. No, not yet, but pretty close. Getting really close to it. Okay. So yeah, but on the weekly chart, yeah, we are very close to a new high right here. So so yeah, we might see some consolidation at that level because we'll see. It's hard to tell like how many. I think most people already sold. Like this is the 1.5 year line right here. So it already surpassed all this resistance level. So I think, yeah, I don't think it has a problem going through that level. And the numbers are just super fundamental, right? Look at those. Yeah, this is, like I say, I call this a super stock because like it just keep going. This is probably one of the best performers in the last year. Yeah, we have Duo. Yeah, we definitely want to look at Duo. Uh,
Mhm.
Wix is also moving. Um, MDB is starting to move. DV is starting to move. Twilio, I think it make a big move this week. Um, GCT came down a little, quite a bit. Yeah. Okay, so we'll look at some of this. So we'll start with Duo. So Duolingo, it's it's not the biggest cap for sure. So there's going to be volatility, and that's what you're seeing here. It's at new highs. It's a fairly recent IPO, and you can see this pullback right here, right? So we break out right
Mhm.
here. This is not an easy stock to hold, but let's say you got in here, it went up, came back down. Right now, it doesn't look really strong, right? Because it's riding the 50-day moving average, and it should be bouncing off it, not riding it. This is not good, in my opinion. So, uh, it's not doing what other stocks are doing, right? The other stocks are bouncing off and hitting new highs. This guy is not. So I'm a little bit worried about this stock right now. Um, Relative strength, you can see it has come down a lot, and right now it's flatlined
Mhm.
it. It's flatlined it, so it's not good because this is a strong week for the market. You expect a leader like Duolingo to bounce as well, and it's not bouncing. So if you can bounce on a good market, it's most likely going to fall once the market turns worse. So this is yeah, don't look good right now. Wix did make a move this week. So yeah, so again, this one, broke out right here and went up 20%, pretty good. First pullback, now it's trying to hit new high again. So it kind of fell on Friday, but let's see how it does. Twilio, or Twilio, oh no, Twilio, yeah. Twilio, you know, it didn't quite make that 20% gain. It pulled back pretty hard to almost to the buy point. And now it's trying to come back above the 10-day. So this one I'm kind of like not really sure because it's not, the relative strength is not as strong as I want it to. Mara, yeah, under really suffering, similar to MSTR. So yeah, we talk about like just come back to the big picture a little bit. We talk about like how the Mac 5 is doing well, but then the Apple Tesla are not doing well. Then we start to look at the tech stocks, and we see, like I said, there's lots of tech stocks doing well still, but there's also lots that are not doing well, right? And this is one of them, like in the financial area for software and Coinbase, right? And this is crypto related, and obviously, it's suffering the same damage as what we see in MSTR and Mara, right? So yeah, this one already fell back to the 50-day, so that's like a lot faster than the other two. Um, I don't know why they're getting hit so hard. We'll see if it finds support at 50-day because this is where usually institution will support it. Like Cathy Woods will probably come in and buy some. I don't know, but yeah, if it doesn't, then yeah, the next average line is 200-day, which is much lower. Usually, if a good leading stock, they don't usually come below the buy point too far. That's a really big pullback, right? Like even coming back to this buy point is already, I mean, we're talking about 157 to 114. That's easily a 35% correction. I'm going to jump to some other related stock, not crypto, but like financial. A firm, I mean, this guy has, similar to coin, has run up a lot since this breakout. But now it's pulling back. Not as bad as coin, right? It's still way above the 50-day. But the problem is it is definitely in a downtrend. And, beware of this downtrend. Who knows how far this downtrend will go. But it is pulling back quite a bit. You can look at like block, very similar. You know, you have this nice run right here, but again, we're on a downtrend right now. Best not to touch them until this downtrend is over. Um, hopefully we'll find support at 50 or 200 days right here in this area, and then come back out, right? So that will be ideal. Tree, lending tree. Yeah, I mean, this one is definitely holding up much stronger because it hit new high this week, but then it fall back so hard on 4 days. I don't know what happened. So definitely we're volatile. This is a much smaller cap stock. Again, anytime you have a $20 stock, you're gonna expect volatility because it's so easy for it to move $1, $2, right? And this is a super small cap. All right, so I'm gonna jump back to some tech stock, the financial stock. This one, NCNO. Wow, this one's actually acting really good. Look at this. Surprisingly, look, yeah, it's almost at new high, holding really tight. Look at all this volume here. Yeah, there's something. This one is like no one wants to let go. So I think this one is worth paying attention to. $34, almost 4 billion cap. The numbers are turning around. Yeah, Parsons. This one is also doing well. This one is the enterprise software. Um, Big base right here came out, went up, built another smaller base, went up, built another small base. This one looks very stable. Uh, Probably an easy stock to hold. Numbers are really increasing on the earnings side. Yeah, looks really good. It came out on Friday. Volume is there, like it's rising, and there's no one wants to sell. So this is really looks like a really good chart. Another AI stock, Palantir. This one not doing so well. It's on the downtrend again. Uh, Trend is your friend, just so don't try to get in too early. Wait for this downtrend to break. For industrials, I think most of them pulling back this week. There's a few that are doing good, Modin and WAB and WWD. So let's look at that. Modin. Pretty sure, yeah, it's hitting new highs. This went up after
Yeah.
this breakout right here. Went up to the 20% mark. Pullback. Look at that pullback. Like, it's really like not a volatile pullback. It's quite normal. I mean, this day looks a little bit scary, but the volume wasn't even there. And then it started to bounce, really trading really tight, and then now it's new high. So it's taking off again. So this so first pullback and who knows, right? Go up, second pullback, and then something like this. So that's Modin and WebTech. Yeah, this one again breakout didn't go up much. This one's probably like uh, not as strong, but it's the chart is still okay. It's more stable. WWD, Woodward in aerospace defense. I think the U.S. passed like $800 billion, right? Aerospace defense bill, crazy amount of money. And I think this one hasn't moved much, but now it's starting to move. So we'll see. The other one is HWM. Yeah, so this one's already hitting new highs, came out from this sideways pattern. Again, they haven't moved strong yet, but who knows? Now that they have, come out, maybe the slope will be faster, right? But yeah, um, I mean, CLS, TT, those are still pretty strong. So yeah, not quite new high. TT, yeah, this one is starting to climb back to the new highs again. Let's look at Sterling. I'm gonna look at that. Yeah, this one hasn't come back yet. So again, this is relative strength going down because it's not following the market, right? So that's not a good sign. So yeah, so industrials overall is weaker than I want it to be. So yeah, healthcare has lots of more stocks now. They have been probably one of the best sector this year so far. Lilly, uh, yeah, it tried to come out right here. It fell, but then it didn't pull back much, and that's exactly what you want to see. It didn't even hit the 10-day. So this is a 10-day moving average. Look at that, climbing nicely. Like I would, the volume is not there, unfortunately, but yeah, I'm not sure. Like, because there's definitely more selling volume. So it might get choppy. I don't know, but I like the fundamental story of the stock, right? They just announced they're doing a teledoc kind of telehealthcare for selling their weight loss diabetes drug. NVO, that one's probably slightly better. It came out right here. It's looking okay. This one looks like there's more buying volume than selling volume. Look at the selling volume. So this one, from the chart, like volume perspective, this one looks a lot better. Also, even the chart looks better. Um, yeah, so I think this is the Ozempic weight loss drug, diabetes weight loss drug. So this one I know is more popular than the Lilly's one. Um, so ITGR is a medical products. Yeah, so this one like came out nicely. The volume is really strong on the breakout. Um, yeah, and then even on this rise here breakout. So there's two breakout points now, and it has both of them has strong volume. So there's something happening with this. I don't know the story of this company, but look like they make devices for like such as pacemaker. I don't know like what's the new product or anything. What's the storyline? But this one is starting to move. Um, BXX, Boston Scientific, also this one really nice chart. You can see it's starting to run. Nice. It took a while to move, but now it finally moved. Volume is really good. And then we have Regeneron. I think the health sector is probably, like I said, probably the best sector so far this year. Look at this one, looks good. Yeah, this is a nice 45-degree angle. And um, I just want to jump to XBI for a second. I just want to see what the chart look like. So this is the biotech index. So yeah, this has been really strong. Hasn't given up much. This week it did kind of it went to a new high and then it kind of fall back a little bit. So we'll see. It's still on a nice uptrend. But yeah, but I think health will probably the techs have come out this week, and then now we'll see if the health will continue to lead. Um, oh yeah, so ISRG Intuitive Surgical also came out on some good news. I can't remember the news. Maybe they revised the guidance or something. Yeah, so it came out right here, very strong uh, volume there. And look at it, it never even came back down, right? Look at how strong that is. This is 45-degree angle. So this is very strong. Yeah, so I like this one. And then Pan, this stock, undergone a really deep correction. And right now, it's starting to move again. This was the first pullback. So if it goes through this 200-day line, I think this will be a very good sign for this stock. Like I say, it undergone such a long and deep correction. It was doing really well last time. Like you can see the run right there. Um, so Vortex, yeah, this is a large cap health stock, and look at this run. Right, we talked about this last week. Like it continues the trend. It basically riding the 10-day line, a little bit extended right now. So, but yeah, it's doing really well. UNH, they reported it didn't do as well. I don't know why the chart looks like that, guys. Yeah, it's missing some data point right there. But anyhow, I'm not sure what's happening here. So nice bounce on MGen right here on the pullback, bounce on the 10-day. It looks really good. The slope line is really good. Okay, so we have on the financial side, we have TradeWeb. So this one is almost getting ready to come out. PLMR, this is insurance. This is slightly weaker, but it's showing some momentum right now. So AGO, another insurance guy. This one's moving nicely. So this ones they don't move fast, but they're pretty stable. Four also try to move out this week. See, but it got reversed on Friday. So yeah. So I don't know what's gonna happen. We'll see. And I don't like it when it reverses on end of day Friday. That's always the bad sign. If it reverses on Thursday, it could bounce back on Friday. But this, closing. I mean, let's look at weekly chart. On the weekly chart, I mean, it still look okay, right? It's not like at the bottom of the week. So, um, but yeah, there's some accumulation here. You see that, and it has come a long way. First pullback, it hasn't really break out yet. So, but yeah, that's more like a handle, and yeah, that is a strong reversal. But good thing is, I mean, the volume is actually there. So I don't know. It's hard to tell what's gonna happen next. We'll see. D low, it's not moving much. It did come back above the 50-day, and it's staying above it so far. So again, this is very weak RS. So one of the weaker ones. So the financial stocks, most of them are, you know, weaker. But let's look at some of the bank earnings, right? Like JPM. Uh, I mean, that's a big reversal. So again, not good sign. Pretty much, I would treat this like a downtrend still, on the pullback basically. So until it comes back above it, it's going to be challenging. Yeah, like so far the banks are, I mean, they didn't fall as hard. Like this one fall and then came back. So, but like I said, this is still on a downtrend. So that's kind of, yeah. So not good. Wells Fargo, well, this one didn't even come back at all. So BlackRock. So this is the only one that went up, I think. Yeah, this is a nice uptrend right here. So yeah. So like yeah, for the, with the attack on the Red Sea, um, some of the transport pipeline they have moved, but now it's definitely falling. So the we talked about this last week, and it did fall below previous support level. So I would stay cautious on this right now. But we'll see. It did find support at 50-day, but yeah. So this is starting to look more choppy. Um, yeah, I would be more cautious now on this one. Let's look at TD water, how tight water. Okay, same thing, pulling back. So this is also on a downtrend. Okay, let's look at some of the coal stocks. So those are still okay. It pulled back a little bit this week, but they still look pretty good. It's like trading really tight, right? And volume is coming down too. So coal is the number one industry group right now in IBD. Um, Most of them have negative earnings, so I don't follow them. But if you want to swing trade them, they're still pretty hard. METC is the other one. Yeah, look at this one, barely budge, right? Um, so it's looking really healthy. Like I think they could go further. So yeah, looks really good. So this is metal mining. Not sure if there's news, but look at this move, right? Came out. Yeah, very interesting. Um, yeah, there's also AMR.
All the uranium stocks have run a lot last week.
Yeah, so this is another coal stock, still holding really strong. This is still a strong uptrend. And then yeah, look at uranium. So this is a spot uranium. Look at it, broke out and it moves really fast. Look at that. So a lot of the housing stocks are starting to come out. So this is PHM, Pauti, and look at this run. So then it get to 25% gain. Now it's trying to come out again on this flat base. So it looks really nice. So we want to see a nice clean breakout, and then that will be a signal. DR Horton. So this one, again, similar. Try to come out again. Didn't quite make it. We need a clean breakout. Sometimes you get fooled. Sometimes it could come out and then it can fall apart, right? So just always be careful. Land is another one. So again, I don't like how every single one is near the high and it couldn't break it. I don't like that.
Mhm.
So could be like I said, I would stay cautious. Don't try to jump the gun here. So this is ITV, the home construction ETF. So yeah, I mean, but like I say, overall it looks good. It's tight. It's moving really tight. There's not much volatility. Volume is starting to drain down. So at some point you gotta make a move, and until that move happen, like I say, I wouldn't jump the gun, but it looks really good because they all have, it has a nice uptrend right here. This was this was last year, and then has this big correction after this run, and now, look at the 10-week moving average. The slope is much stronger than here, right? So so yeah, it could be ready for a big move. If interest rate are gonna cut this much this year, this will be probably one of the big beneficial sector, right? Um, yeah, retail is still doing really strong. Like I'm actually surprised. So like Celsius, this one is starting to come back on the right side of the base, and this is the slope of this run right now. It already came through the downtrend line. Uh, it's a little bit choppier than I would like it, but but it's still going really nicely on the uptrend. The volume on the selling side is diminishing, so that's good. So hopefully volatility will die down, and basically we want to see this breakout. What does it look like? The last time it break out, it wasn't very clean as well. Look at all this choppiness, right? And then, but it finally
Mhm.
took off, right? So, but because we have so much choppiness in here, I would assume it does the opposite. Once it breaks out, it should be very clean and very nice trend. Um, but yeah, a lot of people like Jim Ropel is starting to follow this stock again because it really does have strong fundamentals. So don't. That's the reason, right? Like you could forget about it, but if the number's gonna be this strong, you can't. It's just gonna be a one of those long-term winners. I know a lot of people
Yeah.
follow Elf. Um, Again, very similar, but this one is definitely a lot stronger in the run. Look at this run right here over a year. And has this now finally a big base build up, reset the base to base one, and now look at the slope again, it's starting again, right? So, um, you know, yeah, it's looking really good. So David Ryan owned this one. Uh, yeah, I don't know if how much he sold in here. He probably did trim some, but yeah, he's holding it for long term. He really likes that stock. Um, Race, Ferrari, like it's starting to come back. It's slower than I would like, but at least it's still coming back. This one trades really tight before. Right now, it looks kind of tight. Volume's on there on the support side, so that's good. And hopefully all the volume, see this is lots of negative selling here, lots of volume selling. Hopefully this is done. And then it could slowly climb back this side. Um, ISG is a hotel chain. This one's doing really strong. You know, Look at that, really strong. This is a really nice chart. Um, okay, Urban, this clothing. So it has this one day move here. I can't remember the news. There must be some news. Oh yeah, I think they revised their guidance. Anyhow, looking really strong right now. It's at new highs pretty much. Um, yeah, it's very strong. Look at PDD, Chinese stock. Yeah, look, we're still looking at this tightness. Like if it comes out, man, Jim Ropel is watching this. A lot of people are watching this. If it comes out, this is gonna
Mhm.
move. This is gonna move. Like look at this. This is earnings, so it moved that much. But if it comes out, I think it's gonna. Lots of people will be. Yeah. Again, this is one of the really strong earnings too. So um, yeah, I like Toyota. Every time I look at Toyota, I was like, oh, this is it moves when it breaks out. It moves. This is a really long cup base, and it finally broke out this week. Volume is there
Mhm.
on the buying side. Volume selling is really low. Holding tight after it breaks out, right? Relative strength is rising. Um, you know, it did suffer a really long consolidation here. Let's go to weekly. So as you know, I think like EV sales are not doing as well. A lot of companies have scaled back. A lot of companies, last week we talked about Mobileye. This week it was so this one I just want to finish this. This one it broke out, right? So watch this guy, and it will come back. The Toyota story is really about hybrid. Um, so versus full electric, right? So go back to let's go to AEHR that they reported, and they tanked this week because they revised their EV numbers related to EV numbers. Again, um, every EV number is looking bad. So this is why Tesla is getting sold off so hard. Plus they're doing so many things, right? They're dropping their
Mhm.
price. They're saying like I can't remember one of the production company. I don't know if it's Germany or which one is scaling down or has to shut down for a few months. So many bad negative news, and the whole industry is suffering right now. So, but yet Toyota is the one that is doing really well on from the stock side, and the hybrid sales are doing well. Um, yeah, this is not a yeah, it's pretty clean breakout, I would say. It's like I say, it didn't even come back much on Friday. So I would say this is a good, and volume is there, right? I think I might want to try to get a full position on this hopefully by this week. Yeah, it looks good. So Miniso also you know another Chinese stock. It looks like Celsius, right? The chart. It has undergone a big correction. Now it's slowly coming back on the right side. The volume, the selling volume is like again diminishing here. So we want to see the buying volume rise. Um, yeah, so that's really that one. Yeah, Abercrombie and Fitch. This is honestly like I don't know if there's a chart that looks like this in the market right now. This is the longest Energizer Bunny running. It just
Wow.
keep going, right? It just keep going, keep going. This is the 10-week moving average. Nice. Basically, that's the bottom channel line. This is the top channel line. Looking really strong. Like the numbers are incredible. Um, yeah. So I don't know like what's going on with this company because not many people talk about it. But
Mhm.
the chart is just incredible. Like the strength behind this is just amazing. Um, so yeah, the other one similar is AEO, but not as strong obviously, but it's still on a nice uptrend as well. So this is American Eagle Outfitters. Did have a small pullback here. So yeah, again found support. So that's good. And yeah, this is more choppier than ANF for sure. But overall, it's also on an uptrend, just not as strong as ANF. But yeah, very similar story. So the education stocks, finally took a break after this nice run and built a base. It came back above on the right side, and the volume is still not showing up. So, this is a nice handle. So let's see if volume will come in. Like there's still a lot of selling, so we need to see more buying for this to clear. Otherwise, there'll be too much resistance. Um, One stock we didn't talk about is Netflix. It's yeah, this stock is actually doing really well, surprisingly, right? Like, nice pullback here, found support, trading really tight, and then finally it came out, right? It came out of this tight area. It still didn't make, couldn't close cleanly above the high. So let's see what's gonna happen. Um, yeah, maybe because they are reporting earnings soon, 10 days, yeah. So maybe, this stock is known for gapping out on earnings. So yeah, so that could happen again. I don't like it because of that, because if you don't own it right now, you're taking a lot of risks, right? Like if you didn't have some gains, taking a lot of risks, so it could go either way, right? But this stock is always known for gapping out. Look, this gap right here. This one was a gap down. Okay, this one is probably the only one that didn't gap. But generally they gap a lot, either up or down. Yeah, so make my trip a little bit more volatile than I like to see, but at least nonetheless it did, you know, come back up, like
Mhm.
a V-shaped bounce. So, but late, like I said, it hasn't been. It's a little bit volatile right now. I don't know why. I don't like seeing too much volatility, especially after a huge run up, because that usually indicate that there's a lot of selling. That's why the price movement can swing a lot, right? So yeah, other than that, we're going into earnings season. Really, that's the key. I think this quarter earnings is supposed to be like a lot lower than last one. So the expectations is already pretty negative in my opinion, unless it can go more negative. Um, which I think they forecast S&P 500 3%, right, growth. So that's very low,
Mhm.
low single digit. That's really low. Like I said, lowest than last quarter. Last quarter was 5%. This quarter is even lower. So we'll pay attention to how stocks react to earnings because if they don't fall much, even with bad news, that's always a good sign, right? So that's why I'm watching as I go. Like if I show you the list again, what I have is like I said, I have my earnings right here. So let me show you the full list again, and I just make sure I track that. Yeah, I just make sure I track the earnings. So if you're gonna buy something, make sure it's not like too close, otherwise you're going to take more risks if you don't have any gain. But my goal is hopefully
Mhm.
some of the stocks that I own, I will have some cushion, hopefully going into the earnings, at least 5 to 10% cushion. Then anything happen is not as bad, right? um, but we'll see if we can get that. But a lot of them are announcing like in February, you can see. And then there's some like end of the month, like which is about pretty much 2 weeks from now. So yeah, so in like 10 trading sessions, if you want to buy something right now, you hope that those can give you some gains again. But the market is general, like I said, it's more weaker than it looks, right? So um, so that's the tough part right now.